Okay, so this BenQ Mobius EX2710 gaming monitor behind me costs $300, low price, right? But I'm coming from using a LG 4K Ultra Gear monitor that costs $800. And for this review, I'm not putting any color accuracy monitors on this thing and doing all of that technical stuff. I just wanted to kind of give you my experience of going from a better, more expensive gaming monitor down to this and whether or not that really hurt my overall experience. And short answer, I would have to say no. Now look, this Mobius is only a 1080p display, so it's not going to give you that clarity and that richness as a 4K display can give you. And I really noticed that drop off when I was playing a game like Apex Legends, and I was trying to see the enemies far off, but I didn't have that same level of detail to be able to make out exactly which character that was I was looking at on this BenQ, but I had that with that LG 4K. But again, I know that going into it because most of the time 1080p is going to lose out to 4K. But once I got past that, I was actually happy with the way this thing looks. Now, out of the box, I did have to turn the saturation and some of the contrast down a little bit. It was a little too punchy for me in the beginning, but once I did that, I think things looked a lot better. And speaking of just adjusting some of the color settings, it's really easy because the on-screen display is very simple and fast to use. You do have some controls on the back of this monitor, so you do have a joystick that can also be pressed in, and that makes for navigating the on-screen display very, very easy. Then also too, above that, you have a button to be able to change between the inputs, and you have two HDMI 2.0 ports on this and one display port that you can change between the inputs. And then below the joystick, you will find the power button. And so yeah, with all of this, you do have a good amount of control of getting this screen to look the way that you want. But now one of the most useful tweaks that you can do with this monitor is called the black equalizer. And this allows you to raise up the brightness of dark or shadowy areas inside of a game. So if you're playing like a first person shooter or something and you want to raise up that brightness just in case you go indoors, you're trying to find the enemy, you can do that with this without raising the brightness and overexposing other areas of the image. So it's just going to be raising those dark areas, and this can be very useful in a lot of different games. Now, this also does have HDR, but when it comes to HDR, oftentimes the more you spend, the better it's going to be. And with this monitor, I would say that most of the time I kept HDR off. Now, look, I'm not saying there aren't cases where this HDR could look good. It's just that I didn't really feel like messing around with it. And just out of the box in like the regular FPS mode or the game mode with a couple of tweaks as I did before, I found that just to be just fine for me. So HDR in this was one of those things that it's there, but you might not want to use it all the time. And that's even with their HDR Eye feature, which is proprietary to BenQ. And this actually uses a light sensor that's on the front right there at the bottom of the display that's going to be monitoring the ambient light and adjusting the HDR and the color and the brightness on your screen to reflect that. And just taking a look at this side by side here, you can see with the HDR Eye video that it does lift up those details and the shadows and stuff, but you still could do the same thing with the regular image on the right hand side with that black equalizer that I showed you before. And so I find it easier just to have to adjust the black equalizer and not have to adjust the colors and contrast and stuff with the HDR video that you can see it does fall a little bit flat. So you might have to tweak a little bit more things there. So in the end, for the price range, the HDR is not that bad. It's just that the regular mode just makes it a little bit easier for me to play right away and still get really good quality. But on a positive note, this does have built-in speakers where that more expensive LG doesn't have any. Now, typically I wouldn't want to use built-in speakers on a monitor, but these actually sound pretty good, and they have like some richness to them that you don't typically find with built-in speakers. So you have dual 2.5 watt speakers, and this has their Trey Volo sound optimization, which gives you 3 different sound modes as far as gaming, and then cinema mode, and then also their pop live mode, which is for like music and vocals. And so look, again, it's great for built-in speakers, but I still would always put on my gaming headset when I really want to get some really good quality. But I'm not mad that they do it in there because it actually performs better than other built-in speakers. Oh, and when it comes to design, I think this monitor looks good. Like on the front, on the stand, it does have this orange accent color there, which might not go well with everybody's gaming setup, depending on which colors you have. But I think overall, this thing looks good. It feels durable. It doesn't feel cheap at all. And then I like that on the back where you have your ports, like your headphone ports and your HDMI and stuff like that. It does have a back cover, so you can kind of route the cables through that back cover through the bottom. And then it also does have a space there in the stand itself, so you can put your cables in so they're nice and centered going through the back of the monitor. Now, although you can't rotate this monitor up into a vertical position, you can tilt it forwards and backwards, and also you can rotate it left and right to get different angles. And this also can work with VESA mounts, and also the bezel around the screen is not too bad. It's not super thin, it's not thick, it doesn't get in the way at all. And I forgot to mention this in the beginning, on the front at the bottom right, you do find a dedicated button to be able to switch between the HDR modes, so that's kind of convenient if you are using HDR. And also in that on-screen display software, you do have a lot of different modes to choose from FPS to RPG, so depending on the type of game that you're using, it has some kind of presets that might look the best for you, but again, fine-tune those things to really work out for you. And this also does support AMD FreeSync and has a 1 millisecond response time, and I'm not a pro gamer, but when I move the mouse, it moved quickly, so that works for me. But look, this is not a miracle worker. It's not going to beat out $700, $800 monitors. This is one that gives you some premium features for a $300 price tag, but it gets a lot of the basics done well. For a 1080p display, I think it looks good with a little bit of customization on your part, and I think for around this price, you could find some other monitors that may give you a little bit higher resolution, but they might not give you 144 hertz refresh rate like this does. So I think this has a really good medium ground, so I can definitely recommend it for gamers who not only are on a budget, but you might just not need all of those bells and whistles from a more expensive monitor. But anyway, I'll leave a link down below so you can check out this monitor for yourself. In the comments, let me know what you think about it. Subscribe if you like this stuff, and also like this video if you like it. But like always, I do want to thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you later. Peace.